y'all. This is the second time in a row that we've been doing a little something different here. Thank you to Dwayne for helping us out. It is the Slay Your Day podcast with April Rogerson, and I thank you for joining us. And today we have a very special guest. All of my guests are special. This guest is just a little bit, just like a itty more special because it's Bridgette Williams, and she used to teach my son.
I did.
You did. We have Bridgette Williams here from Kulima Montessori School. Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Thank you.
Applause,
Thank
applause,
you.
applause.
Thank you.
Kulima Montessori.
You know what? You don't give yourself credit though.
What?
Because you're saying I'm special because I taught your son.
Yeah.
You're special because you sold me my school.
I did sell you your school. Okay, so let's talk about that, right? Let's start there. I don't like to talk about myself on this show, but I did sell your school.
You did. You
The whole thing was the
absolutely.
first time.
Really?
Not for me.
Oh.
The building, no. But a school, yes.
Yes. Well, I didn't know it.
Yeah.
No, you held my hand through that. It was definitely a first
I
time
know,
for
that's
me.
what I said. The whole entire process
You
was
made
first.
the process, seem doable and
Yeah.
absolutely, doable because we did it.
Yeah.
But we
Thank
that
you
was-
for that. We'll take a little curtsy.
we may not have been here.
Oh my God.
Without that sort of help.
And it's
Because taking that leap is a big step.
it was, and you were nervous.
Absolutely.
And when you called me, you were very much like, I think I want to do this. I was like, all right, let's do it. You're like, wait, we are going to
Like,
do this?
really?
I'm like, yes, you said you want to do it, and we will get this done.
Okay.
2019,
2019.
right before the pandemic.
Oh, yes. The
One,
first year.
right, I was going to say,
Mhm.
not even anticipating. No one anticipated the pandemic happening.
No.
But when you went into it,
Oh, man.
their eyes, you were excited. Then the pandemic happened. How did that impact your school? How did it impact what you were doing?
Oddly enough, we fared really well. I will say you're in that startup phase, when things are thrown your way, you just have to deal. You have to do it. So it was like, it's go time.
Right.
And we are a private school. People are paying tuition. I called my small little team together and said, we have to do something for our families, and we cannot do what everyone else is doing.
All right.
Because the first question is, what am I paying for?
Mm-hmm.
So we came together, we devised a plan. We were live with our students every day, all day. We delivered materials to their homes. We just went above and beyond, and it was a lot of work. But because we did that, the next year, our enrollment doubled.
Right.
And we've continued to
So
grow.
that's exciting, and then it added to your proof of concept, right? Because you go into it like, I think I can run a school. You're like, God damn it, I am running a school. And I'm running a school in the pandemic first year, no less.
Man,
Right.
there are no directions. There isn't a seminar, a book, or anything that could really prepare you for that. And we came out. We were able to come back in person
Mhm.
that next year. Our population doubled because we had our beautiful building.
Yeah.
And you negotiated a beautiful deal. We were in a position where our overhead was really manageable.
Yeah.
And we didn't have to pack out our building to make ends meet.
Right.
So we were able to give our students a lot more space to make it very safe. And we didn't have any cases of COVID.
Wow.
Yeah.
And everything that you just said about that is important because there was so much of it that had to do with distancing, right? So it's like, how do we still meet the need, still address the elephant in the room that is breaking out in hives? And how do we still make this work and figuring things out? Because one of the biggest things that we talk about on this show is how you pivot, right? So first you came from the classroom.
Mm-hmm.
And I think not all teachers aspire to run a school. So
Right.
the fact that you went from that to running a school, talk a little bit about your background there, because I think that paid a lot.
Yeah. Actually, and I did actually start in the office.
Yeah, I was about
Yeah.
to say, so let's talk, because it doesn't always, it's not, to bring full circle what I mean by that, there's no straight paths. People
Right.
think this very linear. I'm going to go to school, I'm going to
Oh.
become a teacher, and I'm going to do these things. And that's
the
almost
path
never
was-
the case.
I
So
have degrees in a whole lot of stuff
where
I'm not
did
doing
you
right now.
start?
I started with biology and
Yeah.
chemistry, managing labs. I went to nursing school. I became a nurse. And it was during the time I was I was a nurse. I was a school nurse. Sorry, I was a school nurse.
Hear everything she had.
And my children were in a Montessori school, and I was called in one day by the owner of that school, asked for a meeting. I was very nervous. I called my husband. I was like,
right?
Did something go wrong?
Did the kids do something?
Something happened, but she actually offered me a job, and I did a little negotiating, but I told her I still needed to keep my nursing credentials, but it was more administrative work.
Gotcha.
But shortly thereafter, after I started doing it, I was like, this is it. This is
right.
This is everything. This is what I want to do. And then research, taking upon myself to learn. I knew if you want to run a Montessori school, you have to be Montessori certified. I've got my certification. Actually, still not intending to go into the classroom, but that was a pivot.
If you gotta, you gotta be ready.
Stay ready.
Like just in case I feel like dabbling in a little Montessori, I think I would go ahead on and take these certifications. But yeah,
I got it because I was like, well, you need it to be an administrator. But actually, a pivot. Somebody on Thursday told the school that they were not going to be there on Monday, and that Monday I was in the classroom.
Wow! And
I was in there for a few years. I can't even remember how many years, but having both experiences has been really helpful.
Yep.
Understanding the administrative aspect and understanding what it's like in the trenches as the teacher, managing behaviors, managing all your students. I appreciate having both perspectives.
Right. And I think, again, talking about how these paths wind up diverging or kind of breaking off, right? Because everything that you mentioned that you did previously plays a role in understanding the student, understanding the parents, and understanding your staff, right?
Yeah.
But in addition to that, you saw a potential opportunity and you began to plan in advance without really knowing where it was going. So I think sometimes people think they need to have it all figured out.
Right.
And in this instance, you didn't have it figured out.
I did have a vision, and I did start making small investments in myself and this vision. So I started, I would easily purchase things for the classroom and things that, I know that's hard for teachers to do sometimes, but in my mind, I was like, this is an investment. This is materials for when it's my turn. We looked at a lot of properties, being patient to find the one that works for you. Yeah. Taking every opportunity I could to learn more, to network, to meet more people, go to conferences, different things, just little bits here and there adds up.
Right. And it doesn't hurt even if because you just said a moment ago that you have all these different experiences that you're not using, right? And I put using in quotations because, again, we sometimes think of it in that way. My degree is in sociology, and I feel like I practice sociology every day. You know what I mean? So
I will tell you that biology, chemistry, and laboratory management experience is why we were able to do what we did during COVID.
Correct.
Because in that moment, the pivot was, okay, this is a school, but today this is a laboratory where we have to monitor and manage and know what's coming through our doors at every time. Hand sanitizing, hand washing, just our policies and procedures, HEPA filtration, all sorts of things to make our environment safe.
Due to your biology background, you did not look at it like this is a hoax or any of the stuff that was going around at the time. You didn't take it, you did not take it serious. It was like this, oh yeah, COVID, Smovic, come on in here, everybody give me a hug, So it is very imperative to really bring together how all of these different experiences, while they all seem to not have anything to do with each other, right, in some regard, but it comes together. It comes together.
People, I think I triage more every day right now than I ever did as a nurse.
Right. I say the same thing about social work. I feel like I've done more social work in this capacity than I ever did as a actual smacktual social worker, So again, I think understanding how all of these experiences come together holistically without us always understanding. And I think from a spiritual perspective, people don't really understand why they're having all these experiences.
Mhm.
Or, you know, so it's kind of like, why did I go into biology? I should have did Montessori a long time ago. Or I should have done, why did I go into nursing? I should have done.
Right.
And actually, it's
It
all
comes
part of the
together.
stuff.
So yeah, you just have to embrace that journey, I think.
Yeah.
And always, I think people should always take advantage of any opportunity to learn a skill, to advance yourself, because you don't know. You don't know where these things are going to come together.
You don't know. And as much as we would like to plan our lives, you know, they have the joke that says you plan and God laughs.
Yeah.
You know, we should have a plan. But to your point, I always say I was a bit of a planner in my life. It was like, I want to be married by this age. I want to have children by that age. But being open to the shifts as well is a big part of that. And you also mentioned a while ago that you are part of different organizations. And I know you have a pretty big role in the organization right now. So talk about that and how that's come to be.
Yeah. Our school houses Montessori Administrators. We house the Montessori Institute of Atlanta, which is a training facility. It's an AMI, which is Association International Montessori Training Facility. It's the only AMI training facility in Georgia. And I had to think about it.
Right.
There's some other entities, but in Georgia is actually where I trained. So that organization kind of took, a break during COVID. And we are working, so I'm the executive director, and we're working very hard to bring more training opportunities to the Atlanta area because we have a lot of Montessori schools.
We do, and I think the diversity piece is important. Something that I say all the time. She does not like my claim to fame that I've given Kulima Montessori School. I said we are the first Black-owned, privately Black-owned Montessori school.
You say the first.
I know. You don't like to make that claim.
I will say, we are a rare bird in that in our demographic composition is not what one typically expects or sees when you go to Montessori schools.
Right.
And
let's talk about that. But it's unfortunate, but we are in the process of changing that.
Right.
And let's talk a little bit about what the Montessori methodology is, because some people are not even familiar with what that is. And that speaks to what we're talking about, because there's some parents like, what the hell is that?
And
sit down, listen to your teacher, and shut up.
Question. That's the first thing you get. What is Montessori? And you can go into this long soliloquy about the hands-on materials, about the freedom and responsibility. And I was thinking about this other night. And I really think the difference comes from its foundation. And I'll put it this way. If you look at our American educational system and its founding properties, it was founded to uphold the values that were present at the time. It was never founded for everybody. It was never developed for everyone to succeed. It was always developed that some are going to get there and we need people that are not going to get there. But Maria Montessori, being the first female physician in Italy, approached things from a scientific methodology, and she was forced to work with children that were deemed deficient. But her basis of the pedagogy is that every child has infinite potential when things are presented the appropriate way. People are innately
inquisitive.
Yes, we're built to learn. So there's no only this group deserves this and this group deserves that. Every child deserves respect. Every child should be trusted enough. Choice is not scary. Because children want to learn.
Some of these parents, that's why I say when the parents is like, no, you go to school, you shut up, you sit down, like that's it.
And that's so demoralizing.
It is.
So we have prepared environments, and when people tour the school, I let them look around. I'm like, so when we say children can choose, look at what their choices are. There's language, there's math, there's geometry, there's science, there's, they can go do an experiment, but there's no fluff in here. This is all carefully curated so that every action is an educational one.
Yes.
So
in addition to that, being student-led and student-focused is not a bad thing, right? Because again, we have these moments of feeling like this is a behavioral issue or things like that. And I'm certain piggybacking off of that, you've had students in the past who were considered to be behavioral issues, and then you put them in this environment and they flourish. Right.
They thrive. One of the key tenets when we're talking about Montessori education and teaching is the amount of observation we do. And one of the things is we don't jump in right away. The key is to see, like, what are they doing? What are they doing? And a lot of times you'll see that child got up to go help somebody else. And in another environment, they stand up and someone's like, sit down. Sit down, be quiet. You know?
Right.
Pause.
Leave Johnny alone. Johnny's like, I'm going to help Johnny. Johnny don't need your help.
Pause. Right. And then another thing, I think people confound the idea of discipline versus obedience. They're two different things. So a discipline is something that's going to come from you because you understand the value of making the right decision, where obedience is oftentimes just out of fear.
Right.
And we produce very disciplined children, really independent, minded, creative children because they're not crushed. You know, because I pause. Your son was very much into drama, you know? So, hey, when we're reading Shakespeare, act it out. You know, let's do that. Write a play. You know, show me. Because I know you and I know what you're into. There are 18 billion ways for us to make sure you understand something.
Right. And the methodology allows for that, right?
Absolutely.
So understanding some traditional schools.
Go so far as to say the methodology requires it.
Yes.
It requires it.
And I think the hard part, understanding traditional methods and Montessori or Waldorf or any of those other methodologies, it is difficult unless you're properly trained to be able to manage a classroom with multiple students doing multiple things.
And the training is key, which is why we invested to make sure Montessori Institute of Atlanta is open and thriving and still doing trainings. Because Montessori as a word is not protected. So anyone can have a school and say Montessori. So, and I tell this to whether you come to Kulima or anywhere else, if you're interested in Montessori, please inquire about the training. If the teachers have been trained, where have they been trained? I will tell you that AMI, and Association Montessori International, AMS, American Montessori Society, they started as one entity founded by Maria Montessori herself. There are others, and there's a level of accreditation, a federal designation, a MACD accreditation, which also lets you know that this training facility is providing a certain level of preparation.
Knowing what the expectation is
exactly.
as a parent or a guardian who's looking to explore Montessori as an option is important.
I hear people say like Montessori light, and so like my 3 years of preparation and a master's degree isn't light.
Montessori adjacent.
It's right. It's There's pedagogy. There's theory. There's a lot that goes into it. So if you're interested in Montessori, please make sure you ask those questions.
Right. And interesting enough, when we first looked into Montessori for Sati, and tell Dad, like, come on, I think, because initially, you know, again, just talking culturally, many of us went to public school, right? So we're kind of, I went to public school, I'm fine. He'll go to public school, he'll be fine. And it's like, So as I observed him, I realized that he likely needed a different type of learning environment. And an example of that, he was in daycare, you know, he's there and he's flying through the work, and I always, you know, he's my son, I love him, and I always say that I don't necessarily say that he's gifted per se, right? But he's fast and he likes to move fast for certain things. And I said he needed an environment where he can move fast on one item, but maybe not on another, right? So he struggled with math a little bit at times. So maybe you need more time to sit and do your math, but you're flying through the reading materials. And that's what initially got me to the point where I was like, maybe he needs something else. And then at the daycare that he was at, they were wonderful with him, but he was going through the work and now he starts to interrupt the other students, right? And she's just like, so he came home one day with a bag full of paper. And I was like, what is all this paper? Like, it's busy work, right? So when I go to the teacher and I'm like, why does he have so much homework? He's 3. You know, she's like, well, you know, he gets through the work so quickly, he starts to disrupt or interrupt the other students. The reality is they didn't have something else for him to do.
Right.
And if he was in a Montessori classroom, there's always something else for him to choose to do. So you got through that work, now can go find something else. And a redirect from the teacher who's saying, okay.
What's your next work choice?
Yes. Or if you're helping Johnny, are you helping Johnny or are you just chatting with Johnny?
Lots of conversations.
Right.
And yeah, I think that's unique and that's very special because like you said, children advance at different rates in different places. So you can't have somebody that's a precocious reader and maybe needs more time in math. And what I love about being a Montessori teacher and is that with that child that is having problems in this one area of math, there's nothing that says I have to push past that. I don't have this. We look at things in 3-year time spans, not in 12 weeks. So, okay, we're going to take a little more time with division, and I can pause and take that time. And what I've always experienced, because everybody runs into a roadblock, everybody runs into a little problem. But if you take a little bit of extra time, just a little bit, another presentation, use a different material. We have materials for everything, multiple material. And then once they get it, they're back off to the races. So you really never really lose any time.
So let's tie that into testing. Because a big piece, Sati still doesn't do amazing with testing, right? But that doesn't mean that he's not either well-versed or understood the material, stuff like that.
Right.
And one of the things in his previous, when he was in Montessori, was that there was not this push for testing, right? There is a mastery of the materials in different ways. It is not necessarily this multiple choice way. And I'm not even against testing, but just understanding, bringing the methodology to that front.
There are varying ways to assess a child for understanding. And what we tend to do falls under the category of what we call formative assessments, which is kind of in theater, in real time, seeing, engaging what they're doing and how they're going about it. And then for us, like the ultimate level of, I know you got it, is when you go teach it to someone else.
Correct.
And that's when our mixed stage environments afford an older child to go and do a presentation. The helping of a younger child means you have to explain what is going on. Once you can do that, you know you have it.
Right.
So those are the in-class assessments. And unfortunately, we are an accredited school, and as an accredited school, we do have to engage in standardized testing, but not every year for the child, and it's not an end-all be-all.
Right.
And
talk about the age ranges in the classroom. So starting from next year we're having a NITO environment. So we'll start at 3 months old. Really?
Yes.
It's like,
actually, I'm sorry, 9 months. We'll start at 9 months. So it'll be 9 to 18 months.
Gotcha.
In the NITO, which means nest. The first place for a young child.
Cool.
We have a pre-primary, which will be 18 months to 3 years old. And then in primary, that's 3 to 6 years old. And elementary can be organized in a number of ways. You can have a 6 to 12-year-old elementary combined, or you can separate them. Next year. We're growing. We're having to separate the classes.
That is the purpose anyway. That's where I was about to go. But the last piece.
You have a 6 to 9 and a 9 to 12 for elementary, and then your upper school. Our upper school is organized a little uniquely when compared to traditional programs. We have junior high, which is 7th through 9th grade, and then our senior high is 10th, 11th, and 12th.
Gotcha. And I think that tweak was probably necessary.
It follows developmental psychology.
Yeah, exactly. So I think with Sati's old school, when they were, I think it was 6 through 12 or something like 6 through 12th grade, it was kind of, there's a massive gaps here that is very evident in how they psychosocial interactions with each other.
Absolutely.
So you're kind of like, okay, yes, this, and I think going back to where Maria Montessori may have been, times have just changed so drastically, and these children have experiences that they did not have at that time.
And, her vision for adolescent education, she called it Erkinder, which is garden, I believe. It's a germ.
Yeah, yeah.
But was to have them on a farm.
Gotcha.
Where they were managing a farm and or managing like a bed and breakfast.
Okay.
And in those environments, there are enough natural responsibilities and natural jobs available to actually serve all those different areas.
And it would not necessarily be constantly
right.
interacting with each
Exactly.
other. Right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because, you know, your older ones are more management type deal.
Right.
But,
that makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
You don't find.
Yeah.
Everybody doesn't have the space to do that. We hope to soon.
But we're not hoping, we are doing. Yeah. And on that note, we're going to transition because you are growing. You have grown tremendously. It's been 2019 and like smashing all of our expectations and what we thought, because I guess, again, in some ways, again, was not a thought, right? It's kind of like, I just need to get it done.
Yeah.
But now that we're doing.
You're
in one building. You had to get some additional space.
I had to lease space next door.
And now
we want to build a campus.
We are building.
Building. See, you're taking me through this process too.
We're speaking in the affirmative up in here.
We are building a campus.
We are building a campus.
Yes, and it's so exciting. So that Urkinder that I'm talking about, to have the space for the gardens and for the children to really be able to interact with nature. 20 acres. Yeah. Gives us space to do that.
That's it. And you are in the process of hosting a gala for fundraising for this venture.
And thank you for that segue.
I do this.
It's a large undertaking. We are very excited, and we have, one part of the equation is very much taken care of, but we are raising money to build this amazing nature-based educational campus for our students and for the community.
Yeah.
It's not a place where we're going to gate it, wall ourselves off, because as many children as I can bring to Montessori or bring into these experiences, I really want that to happen, because more of us need it.
Yeah.
We need to be places, our young men need to be able to come into a school where they are welcomed and greeted. One of my instructors in Montessori used to say, the world is open for a child. Any child, when they walk in the door, they should see faces light up. And children are beautiful, right? Yeah. And our children don't always get that.
They don't.
Children don't always get that, and they need to know what it feels like to walk into an area where they are loved and respected. And once they know that feeling, they're not going to accept anything else.
So going back to what I was saying about Sati, that was one of my biggest concerns. And I said, we need to figure out, how do I ensure that he's not squashed, right? And I didn't want to be under this, unruly black boy who won't sit down, who's interrupting class, who's doing this, who's doing that. And then sometimes we don't even realize that we're doing that, right? And to your point about bringing this to the community at large, it also shifts parents. Because there's so many parents who, and again, when we're talking about culturally for us, where we have had these conversations starting about gentle parenting and how we interact with our children, giving them some autonomy, letting them make choices, letting them make mistakes.
Right.
That is something that I feel that we've definitely struggled with. I was saying a couple of weeks ago, my mom and my father-in-law and his friend was visiting, and they were talking about gentle parenting, like, oh, please, and I'm just like, that's not what it is. They're like, they're just letting the kid break whatever and do whatever. And but it ties so much into the Montessori method and how it's done.
It reminds me of how, like you were describing your mother-in-law was kind of interpreting it when people hear the children have this freedom and they can choose their work.
Kids shouldn't have freedom.
Right. And they interpret that as like, oh, it's just a free-for-all. They go in, they're just going crazy, bouncing off the walls. Yeah. And you've been into a Montessori classroom and you do not see that because it's prepared. Right. So I feel the same way with the term gentle parenting. And, I'm Gen X Centennial, so we make our jokes. We make our jokes.
Right, yeah.
But in essence, it's not a free-for-all. It is an elevated expectation that you have for your child and for you, right? And children grow. It's amazing what they can do.
You'll be surprised.
If
you allow it.
If you allow it. If you pause and observe instead of assuming this action, said a lot of little boys have a lot of energy. That's not uncommon.
Right.
But every child that is rolling on the floor, when children are rolling on the floor, we will have a discussion like if they need to move their bodies.
Right.
So the
you
general
need to
rule
go outside.
is you can take a break.
Yeah.
But if you want to move, where are you choosing to work? You need to work someplace where there's enough space around you to move. And understand work keeps coming up. As long as the work is getting done and you are not disturbing others with your need to move, you can work outside.
Right.
Get the math done.
Yeah.
But I don't have to admonish you just because you're moving.
Right. And to your point, the work does get done.
The work absolutely
gets done.
Back when I was with your son, we kind of assess, like I said, in real time. So there isn't a lot of assignments, formal assignments. We say follow-up work.
Right.
But
I put I'm sorry.
Yeah.
But I'm glad you said that because I want you to speak about homework.
Okay.
Go. But go ahead with what you were saying.
Okay.
Yeah,
I'll come back to that.
I had a light bulb.
There's research on it. But I tell you, in that classroom, I put out a basket and I was like, hey guys, if there is some work you've done that you really want me to see, that you really want to share, you can put it here and I'll look at it. And I had to take the basket away because it would fill up. Right. It was overflowing. Gotcha. The kids, you don't have to make them learn. They are built to learn. You provide the space, the time, the environment for the learning.
Right.
And, they say the guide on the side and guide them. The work gets done. So much work gets done. Crazy amounts of work get done.
What little redirection from the teacher and the educator in the room, but homework.
So we don't assign homework for the most part. I will say, as children get older, it's kind of a natural course of action where they will have work that they didn't have time to finish. And then we have a discussion about that. And as they're older, so younger kids are working more materials based, and as they're older and they're doing more kind of paper, they've abstracted their algorithms and whatnot, then that work is work like, oh, well, when else do you think you can do this?
Right.
And it's just a natural conversation. And with that, I'm still not assigning homework, but I hear my 4th, 5th, or age appropriate for 4th, 5th, 6th graders having discussions like, yeah, I'm going to take that home and work on that because I have something I want to put in it, or man, I'm going to call you and we can do this. We're going to do this at home. They're making plans, and that's some executive functioning skills that they're putting into place on how they're going to accomplish their goals and their responsibilities.
And the time management that is very much a part of the Montessori methodology, because again, it's essentially saying this is the work that you want to get completed for the day.
For the day. We start off in an elementary level. We're starting off with, let's see how well we can manage a day. What are our goals? What are we doing? And that builds to we're managing a week. And coming out of 6th grade, we're managing a month to a quarter, where we're setting goals. We it's a conversation with the kids. They get to be very aware of what they need to do, and we plot a course on how we're going to get it done.
And every student's plot is different.
Every student's plot is different, absolutely.
So we're plotting on getting donations from you guys.
Yes,
back to the gala, the event, the date. The time.
It's the Ubuntu Gala. It is on May 31st of 2024, and it is going to be at the amazing, exclusive, brand new Trilith Guest House Hotel, and it's a boutique hotel built right across from the Trilith movie studios. It's beautiful. It starts at 6 o'clock, and you can get information at gala.kulimamontessori.org, or you can just go to our website and then you'll see information on the gala right away. We are looking for donations. We want to sell these tickets. Ubuntu means I am because we are. This is not just a tribute to the school, it's a tribute to our community. We will be honoring some very special people at the gala, and we just want to bring this spirit into the Fayetteville community, into the greater Atlanta community, And we love for you to attend, and we love the support of a donation.
And with that, we're going to wrap because that's the best ending ever. Please support Kulima Montessori School. Follow them on social. Kulima Montessori
Montessori on Instagram,
Facebook also. And Miss Bridgette Williams, go ahead on and say hi to her too. Bridgette, we thank you very much. Kulima Montessori, we love them. And we are looking forward to your donations, your support, and seeing you at the gala. Bye. Thank you.
Bye.